Hey there, fourth grade. This is Mr. C again, and this video is all about how we add and subtract fractions with like denominators. When we see this word or this term, like denominators, another way of thinking about that would be if they have common denominators or if they have the same denominator. And what that would look like would be if we were adding the fractions 1/4 plus 2/4. We would say that these two fractions have like denominators because they both have 4 in the denominator. It's the same number. And when we add and subtract fractions with like denominators, there's two important rules that we follow. The first being the denominator does not change. So I can go ahead and just put a 4 in the denominator right away. And then the second thing would be we just treat this equation like a normal addition or subtraction question, and that would be looking at the numerator. So I just read it, 1 plus 2 is 3. And now let's take a look at how we can use our fraction strips to build this equation. So here's 1/4, and here are 2/4. Okay, so I have 1/4 plus 2/4. And if I put them together, we know in addition that we are combining these two different values. If I put them together, I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. What I see oftentimes is students who add the denominators together. And if we were to do that, we would have 1 plus 2 is 3, and 4 plus 4 is 8. So if I were to change this to kind of a non-example, right? Here are my 3/4. So I had 1/4 plus 2/4, and now we're saying that it's equal to 3/8. And I'm going to bring this over to show you that this is not a true statement. So again, here was 1/4, here were 2/4, right? That was going back to my original equation. And if I add those denominators together, I'm getting 3/8, and we can see that that is not the case. So this is not a true statement. We would not say 1/4 plus 2/4 is 3/8. And we can always use our fraction strips to help illustrate this. So I'm going to remove these 8s because we know that that is incorrect. And we'll go back to our correct solution. And that was saying that 1/4 plus 2/4 is 3/4. And there they are again. Okay, let's do another one. Again, we are going to be adding fractions with like denominators or common denominators. So I might say I have 2/6 plus 3/6. These are like denominators. They have the same number. So our denominator does not change. And then we treat the equation like a normal addition question. Looking at our numerators, 2 plus 3 is 5. So 2/6 plus 3/6, let me build that for a moment. Here are 2/6 plus 3/6 gives me 5/6. Oh, it's a little off the screen here. Let me back up. 2/6 plus 3/6 is 5/6. So if I'm adding these terms together, I'm going to kind of stagger them a little bit so we can fit it on the screen. I can see that I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These rules are the same exact rules for subtraction. And we'll take a look at what that might look like. So let's start with the fraction 7/10. We'll subtract 2/10. Same rules apply. The denominators do not change. And now I'm going to use my fraction strips to help build this. So I started with 7/10, so I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Do my best to put them in a row. Okay, there are my 7/10. And I'm taking away 2/10. I'm subtracting out 2/10. So I can take 1 away and 2 away. And I'm left with, I'm going to slide this over to my answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be our second rule in action there. We treat it like a normal subtraction question. 7 minus 2 is 5. We'll do one more. Okay, here we'll do 2/3 minus 1/3. So before I write it in, I want you to think to yourself, based on what you've seen, what could we put in our denominator right away? How could we apply this first rule to our solution? Give you a moment to think about it. I hope you're thinking to yourself, 3. Our denominator does not change. Then I want you to think to yourself what we would put in our numerator. Again, we treat the equation like a normal subtraction question, looking at our numerator. And here, I'm going to use my fraction strips to help build it. I start with 2/3, and I'm going to be taking out 1/3. What would I be left with there? Give you a moment to think. Here's 2/3. I pull out 1/3. I'm subtracting out 1/3. I treat it like a normal subtraction question. 2 minus 1 is 1/3. So on your assignment today, you are going to be adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. I'm going to leave this piece of paper up for just a little bit if you want to jot down those 2 rules, thinking about how fractions, the denominator does not change, and our numerators we treat just like a normal addition or subtraction question. Alrighty, you got this. Good luck.